Hey everyone, this is Lau from Kitchen Crafts. Welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to do a little comparison video discussing about the Pilot Custom 823 between the medium and the fine nib. I know that I had some issues, or just some personal preference issues that I had when I was trying to choose between these two, whether I wanted the fine or the medium. And so I did start in the fountain pen journey. My fountain pen journey, I started with medium nibs, and I enjoyed and loved writing with mediums. And then I ventured off into sailors because I love the look of sailors. And I got this one, the sailor. This is the Sailor Shikiori Progress Slim, and it was in a medium fine, and I thought, okay, well that'll be just a little bit thinner than my mediums. No, it was not. It was a very thin line, so it wrote like a extra fine to me. I've never had a Western extra fine, so I don't know exactly how they write, but I'm assuming that they would write almost as thin as the Sailor's medium fine. And after writing with a medium fine for a while, I decided, you know what, I kind of like fine nibs. And so I started getting more fine nibs as well, and I enjoyed writing with the fine nibs. And so I was in that dilemma, and it just so happened around that time that the Pilot Custom 823 was going to increase in the price. So it was like I had to decide right away, or like as soon as I could, to choose which nib size I want from the Pilot Custom 823, because I know that it was a very good writer, and just wanted to get it before the price went up. I was hoping and expecting to get this pen at a later time, but that circumstance kind of pushed me forward to getting it. And so I've watched a few videos, and I decided I got to go with the medium. And when I got it, it was not what I expected. It was definitely a lot broader than I was hoping for in a Japanese medium. And so I decided, you know what, I also want the fine now, because it's such a broad nib in comparison to other mediums I've used. And so I, went ahead and bought a fine as well. But I don't regret it. I love writing with them both. They're different sizes, but they provide different kind of experiences, even different experiences with the same kind of smoothness that you want in a Pilot Custom 823. So they're both smooth. If you hear reviews that the fine is not, maybe they didn't get a good nib, but I do say that the fine and the medium writes very smoothly. They lay ink down very generously, and it's very nice. So today I'm just going to do some line comparison, so you can kind of get a feel for how close or how far they are from each other or with other pens. Yeah, so, and if you have any questions along the way, definitely write them down in the comments. I'd love to read them and answer them for you, and kind of have a conversation about it. I know that some people may or may not like the Pilot Custom 823. If you do have one, let me know in the comments how you like yours. But so for those of you that do not have a Pilot Custom 823, I just wanted to kind of go over the specs a little bit of this pen. It is a vacuum filler, which means that it uses a vacuum to suck ink into the barrel. And so this is my Pilot Custom 823 in the fine nib. And so it has the Pilot, here's the Pilot clip. Let's see, yeah. So it's pretty sturdy, and it moves just enough that you can clip it under a shirt pocket if you want. But I leave these in a very nice, let's see. I've got a nice little case. I think this is leather case here that I put the pen in, and it fits perfectly, and so this is how I keep it safe. I don't typically put pens in pockets or anything like that, so these pen clips are just there to look pretty. I don't really mind the ball. It's, you know, neither, it's kind of neutral to me. But I love the gold accents on this pen. It is a screw cap, and it's got a number 15 Japanese nib, pilot nib. The number 15 is kind of in the middle of their nib sizes. I think if you go and all the way up to like the Namiki pens, the really, really expensive ones from Pilot, they use much bigger nibs, but this one is pretty big and hefty. The pen is pretty long, and so it will, you know, you can write with it very comfortably in your hand, unposted. It does post, and if you post it, it's also pretty well balanced. The cap does have a little weight to it, so it does kind of center the weight around here, which is nice because that's where the pen will rest. And because the nib is so big, you kind of can write a little further from the paper, which is pretty nice. And the best thing I found about the Pilot Custom 823, as I have written with it so far, is that it requires so much less pressure to, you know, write with compared to all my other pens. And that might be because of the nib being so large that you're further away, and being that the pen is a little bigger. The girth is pretty, you know, normal for most fountain pens. There are fountain pens that are a lot thinner, others are a lot thicker, but this one's kind of like in the middle of it all, and it's a perfect like pen girth in the grip section. So this is a hefty pen in terms of weight, even though it is made of, the body's made of resin. You know, it is plastic, but it feels really good, and you know, it doesn't feel cheap for sure. I mean, for like the Grail pen for Pilot, it feels really good. Okay, so I'm going to show the vacuum filling mechanism. In here I have Pilot Iroshizuku Kujaku, and I initially wanted to use black in here, but I don't have Takesumi yet. And I have Kujaku, so I decided, you know what, I wanted to like Kujaku, but to me it's too dark of a turquoise. But I'm hoping that by using it in this Pilot Custom that I will eventually, you know, come to love this color. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to unscrew the end cap here all the way. Okay, and you can't really tell when it's all the way, but like it will just keep on spinning and it won't move anymore. At that point, you want to just pull the piston, or the piston all the way out like this. Okay, and then, oh, let me just open this bottle. So the body is slightly translucent, but it's so very minimal that you can't really see it. But you can see ink sloshing in and out once you have ink in there, if you face it to the light. Okay, so I have the piston all the way up here, and then you just want to, you can use one hand or you can use both hands, and you're going to just push on the piston, and what it does is it will create a vacuum, and it will also expel any ink. But it will create a vacuum, and once you're almost at the bottom, you can push it and it will bring ink in to the pen. Okay. All right. So I'm not sure if you can see how much ink is in there on my camera, but I think I got about half fill, and you can repeat the step again to get a better fill. Now, if you do get this one, you know, new out of the box, the very first time you fill it, you won't get a lot of ink. So you want to do it like 3 times to get a you know, a good fill. And if you're someone that likes to change your inks a lot, this pen, don't expect that you will use up all the ink if you do fill it all the way up. So I would suggest that you just be okay with this small fill, and if it fills too much for your liking, then you can always expel some of the ink out. And then you can close the end cap here if you want, and it's fine. The thing about the Pilot Custom 823 is you will have to open the end cap here just a little bit so that it will allow the ink from the chamber, from the barrel, into the feed and nib. So if you don't do that, there won't, sometimes when you write, there won't be any ink left at the grip section area here. And so you'll find that you're out of ink, but you're not. It's just that this chamber locks all the ink over here if you have this closed. And that's great for traveling. When you travel by airplane and you close it all the way, all the ink will be in here and you won't have any ink issues when you're in the plane. Okay, so we have that inked up. And another tip for the Pilot Custom 823 that I've seen when I watched videos and just looked stuff up on for Pilot Custom is that you will need to, you know, at some point disassemble the Pilot Custom 823 and lubricate the piston rod, because it, you know, is necessary in order to produce that vacuum mechanism. Okay, so this pen is more for, you know, for having an ink in there for a lot longer than normal. So if you like to change inks a lot, this one might not be the pen to do that with. But it is, you know, like, you can definitely do that. Just put less ink, but you'll clean it out. It is also harder to clean just because you don't see the ink in there. And so you're just going to have to hope that doing the vacuum mechanism to clean out the barrel, that it will be clean enough for the next ink. Okay, so now that we have that, I am going to do some line tests for you guys. Okay, and I kind of have all those pens that I had organized. Here, I'll just put them kind of off screen a little bit here. Organize them in order of what I feel like is the thinnest to the broadest. And so hopefully that will kind of help you gauge how thin the Pilot Custom Fine is compared to the rest of the pens, as well as where the medium Pilot Custom medium sits. So first here I have the Sailor Progress Slim. This is a 14 karat gold nib. And so because it's 14 karat gold, it does write a little thinner than the 21 karat gold Sailors. Let's see, I'm just gonna see if I can zoom in a bit for you guys. Sailor Pro Gear Slim, medium fine. Okay, so you can kind of see the line width as well as how it writes. And forgive my writing a little bit. It's kind of hard to, it's a little harder to write nicely where I'm at with my camera. Okay, and then the Pilot Custom 823 fine. And then this is the Pilot Vanishing Point fine nib. So a general rule about nibs that are produced in, like Japanese nibs versus German nibs or European nibs is that the Japanese nibs are about one size down. So a Western medium would be the same as a Japanese broad, or Western extra fine is the same as a Japanese fine. And that's kind of the general rule, but it's not always, it doesn't always follow that. And so you can kind of see that some pen lines may differ from that. And you will see a little bit here in a bit. So far, these Japanese fines are kind of very similar. So, and that's as expected, and it's good to see that these fine nibs, these Japanese fines are pretty similar. So the Sailor Pro Gear fine. And then I have the first European nib here. This is TWSBI medium, and this, I think TWSBI uses Jowo nibs. So Jowo is another German company that makes nibs. Now I do find that the TWSBI mediums write a little on the thinner side. So if you can see that comparison, it's almost as thin as a Sailor Pro Gear fine. So this is TWSBI Eco, and this is a medium. Okay, and the next pen here is the Platinum Kanazawa in a medium. So this should feel like a Western fine. However, it kind of matches the line width of a TWSBI medium. So in the writing sample, they're almost the same. And then here's my Pilot E95S. I have this in a fine nib, and this fine nib writes almost like, again, a Western medium. And it does not match with these fine tips up here. Pilot. So I did write my Pilot E95S dry, and so I just had dipped the nib. And so if you see a little skipping here, it's just that it does not have a lot of ink in it. Okay. And the next one is the Platinum Century 3776. This is also in a medium, and it does write like most most Western mediums, the ones that are not so wet. And then I have another Western or European German nib. This is the Lamy, and this is a Lamy medium. And so it should be thicker than the Platinum Century by, you know, the nibs, how Western and Japanese nibs fare with each other, but the line width is fairly the same, just a tad bit thicker. So Lamy, All-Star, this is a medium nib. And then this is my Kaweco Iridescent Pearl. I have this in a medium. These are pretty juicy and they're pretty wet, depending on the ink as well, but most inks will come out pretty wet in this Kaweco. And so the medium Kaweco is almost, you know, it's sometimes it writes thicker, sometimes it writes thinner than the Lamy All-Star medium. Kaweco Sport, medium. And then here's my Leonardo Flex Fine. Now Leonardo's, and I think, what is the other one? There's another European, German brand, or Italian brand that writes really, really thick. It's not Italian, it's German. So the Pelican is another German brand nib that is very thick in comparison. And I think Leonardo is also in that same, you know, realm of having thicker than other Western nibs. So this is a Flex Fine and it writes to me like a medium, or yeah, like a thick, juicy medium. Let's see, Leonardo, Memento Zero, Flex Fine. And then I kind of ranked the Pilot Custom 823 medium broader than the Leonardo Flex Fine, which is my broadest one of the rest of these. Let's see. It's so juicy, so much ink comes out, and it just feels so thick in terms of line width. Pilot Custom 823 medium. Guess I'll write the whole thing. Okay, and then just for reference, I have a TWSBI Eco in bold or broad as well, just to see the line width. Now I think the Pilot Custom 823 broad, because of how the medium looks, will be pretty similar to a regular Western broad. So this is a TWSBI broad, and you can see it's almost so similar to the Pilot Custom 823. TWSBI Eco. But it definitely writes really broadly. So let me just do a little bit of a close-up here. Okay. Yeah, so the line width, they're all so thin, and they might look so similar, but if you look at the line or the writing samples, you can kind of see the difference in how thin they write and in comparison to each other. So it looks like the Pilot Custom Fine is fairly thin, and it writes just like the Sailor Progressive medium fines and other Pilot fines. And so in terms of Western nibs, I would say these are extra fines. And so they do follow that if you like Western extra fines, the Japanese fines seem to be in the ballpark there. And then the Pilot Custom A23 medium down here, you can see that it writes pretty thick in comparison. And so the Custom A23 medium you'd expect to look like a European or German fine, but it writes like a German medium. Okay. And then I would assume that the A23 broad, it writes just a tad bit bigger and is closer to a European broad. Okay, and then this is Clairefontaine paper, and so how it shows up on the paper may be different based on your paper. So I do have it also written out here on my Hobonichi with the, what is this, Tomoe River paper. So again, I think the line widths and the writing sample kind of, does a pretty good job of showing the difference in line width. And then I have a comparison of both of them down here, so you can see how thin the fine is compared to the medium. They're just one line, one nib size apart, yet they feel like they're 2 or 3 nib sizes apart from each other. So if you love the feel of very, very fine Japanese nibs, the Pilot Custom A23 fine would be the one to go with. If you like those nice gushing Western nibs that like mediums and broads, the 823 medium would be a good choice. I wouldn't, like if you like broad nibs, like the medium is broad enough, and but you can still control how well you can write with them. Like in terms of broad nibs, I find that when they're so big I can't really write so well. Okay, but that's just me. If you like broads, more power to you. Okay, so yeah, that is my comparison of the 2 Pilot Custom A23 nib sizes, fine and medium. Again, they do come with a broad. You can definitely choose that too. Right now you can get these from Japanese retailers for definitely a lot cheaper than the retailers here in America, but to each their own. You can choose where you buy them from, but I think that the lower price may be ending soon, as Pilot Custom A23 is increasing in price now. So if you enjoyed that and found that helpful, definitely leave a like. I would really appreciate, and also if you want to see more videos, consider subscribing. And if you have any questions or suggestions, definitely put them down in the comments. I would love to read them and have a conversation with everyone. But until then, I hope you all have a wonderful week, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.